All right, everybody, we are back with our second Cabral House Call of the weekend. Can't wait to get back into our community's questions. Hopefully, you tuned into yesterday's show. That was episode 3361, of course, right? One follows the other. And if you want to follow along with today's questions, head on over to stevencabral.com/3362. Just always know that we don't edit these questions in any way. They're answered in the order that they come in at stevencabral.com/askcabral. If you have a question of your own, feel free to write in. I'm happy to answer it. We're right now about 7 to 8 weeks in the queue to answer your question. And if you want same day answers to your questions from my amazing health team, you can write in at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our free Facebook group, free to join. Over 30,000 people have organically joined that group. There's literally no ads. We've never marketed the group. It's just people who are part of the podcast community, want to ask questions there and get a little support. All right, let's dive in. First question today. Of course, no medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis. There's the disclaimer. Now let's dive in. Carlos is up. Carlos says, hello, Dr. Cabral. You've changed my wife and I's life over the past year. Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate that. Real quick question. My wife found out she has an 8 mm simple cyst located at the pancreatic head. It does not bother my wife and she has zero pain. We are wondering how we could go about getting it removed and shrunken. Would you recommend the 21-day detox or cleanse of some sort? Thank you for taking the time every week to answer questions. Okay, happy to help with this. I have been recommending all of the protocols, Carlos, if you're not familiar, at highperformancehealth.org. If anybody's looking to revolutionize their overall anti-aging and longevity, all of the safest, not just all of the anti-aging longevity programs are there, but all of the safest anti-aging and longevity protocols are at highperformancehealth.org. It's for general public and for practitioners. Okay. So why do I say that? Because we started talking a lot about full body, no radiation, MRIs about 4 years ago, like really recommended it. It's when the prices dropped in half. It was a much better experience. You walk into a spa-like atmosphere in 45 minutes after watching your favorite Netflix show, you're done. Right. So it's very, very easy. I do it once a year. I've had my wife do it. I flew my parents down to be, obviously I wanted them to visit, right? But also they got to do this nice full body MRI too. Now I will tell you this. They're very sensitive, meaning the MRIs, they're very accurate, and they pick up small things that we would never have seen before. Now, I spoke with one of the best radiologists I've ever spoken with, brilliant doctor, and what did we do? Talked all about for an hour and a half about, hey, what are you finding? Are you finding this in most people? So a lot of people, not most, a lot of people are coming up with what you just said, simple cysts. Best way to describe it. It's not cancer. It's not a tumor. It's a cyst. Could it be cancerous one day? Maybe, but there's nothing to do when it's at this stage. Now, I agree with you. What do we do right now though? Okay, 21-day functional medicine detox, using proteolytic enzymes 2 upon waking. And if it's in the pancreas, you can also use not just proteolytic enzymes, you could do 2 pancreatic enzymes as well upon waking. I personally would not worry, except I would just keep an eye on it, right? Because if the simple cyst does not continue to grow, it's typically benign, and a lot of people have cysts, like they just start to grow, tissue-wise. And so there's nothing to do because the surgery is actually fairly complicated. You probably read about it, but it's a Whipple-based surgery if they think that it's an IPMN or that it's turning into cancer. So you don't want to also overreact. You also don't necessarily want to go in through the stomach and then go into the pancreas and biopsy it, because sometimes it was non-cancerous, and then by basically sticking a needle in it, right? It can actually then mutate the cells and can become cancerous. So I have all of this information. It's all free for everybody on cancer at stevencabral.com/cancer. Completely free. Just gives you a good place to start. And it talks about the functional medicine detoxes. It talks about fasting mimicking diets, but I wouldn't get overly worried. When a cyst in the pancreas gets to 2 centimeters, that's when we start to just say, okay, we need to do something a little bit more. All right, Carlos, hopefully that was helpful. Alberto is up next. I'm 71, was diagnosed with benign prostate hyperplasia, or hypertrophy, just means swelling basically of the prostate. My PSA is low and my testosterone levels are in range for my age. The urologist mentioned that it's very large and no treatment at this stage except surgery. I was referred to have an MRI. Any natural solutions to improve my situation? I'm not diabetic, have normal blood pressure and weight, follow a low carb diet, intermittent fasting 5 days a week and 3 days fast once a month. I'm very confused about the right amount of animal protein in this situation. I take supplements regularly, add red maca, moringa, turmeric, pomegranate to my shake. Any recommendations? Sounds like you're doing great, Alberto. It really does. So here's the crazy thing. And again, this isn't to say we're not going to work on this. We are. But about 80 to 90% of men over the age of 70 have some level of prostate swelling. So basically 9 out of 10 men. And the 10th man is most likely just wasn't studied, right? Because there's some swelling, unfortunately, in the prostate as you get older. Now, the fasting you're doing is phenomenal. We want to make sure that you're not too catabolic. There are certain individuals that do, so like let's say you're an ApoE genotype and your allele is a 3,4 or 4,4. You have to be careful with taking in more saturated fat. That can increase inflammation in those individuals. We want to be careful that there's not heavy metals. Heavy metals like cadmium are one of the biggest detriments to the prostate as well. So I would do a heavy metal detox. I think you're doing your functional medicine detox. If you haven't done a 21-day functional medicine detox, I would definitely do that. And then I would do the heavy metal detox afterwards. Those are all at stevencabral.com/shop. We recommend the heavy metal detox once per year for all individuals, and the functional medicine detox a 7-day once per quarter. If you've never done it before, we start with a 21-day. After that, the 12 to 16 hours a day of intermittent fasting, not skipping breakfast though. So it can be 10, 1:30, and 5:30 dinner, or it can be closer to what we do in our practice, which is a 14-hour ending dinner by about 6 p.m., starting around 8 a.m. in the morning. That seems to work great for the majority of people. Not everyone, of course. There's bio-individuality. Some people wake up later. Some people wake up earlier. Whatever works for you, right? But you want to find a place that works. And then good omega-3s. So if you're not taking 2 to 3 grams of omega-3s, I would certainly look at that. Vitamin E, all those great antioxidants, very powerful for the prostate. So again, I don't know you. I can't make specific recommendations. What I would recommend to, let's say, my dad would be, or someone's family member, let's just say mine, give me recommendations for my family. It would be the Daily Foundational Protocol, level 3, plus the Immunity Protocol, plus a product called Advanced Prostate Support. All of those, plus the protocols, which are short term, the detox and the heavy metal detox, are at stevencabral.com/shop. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. That'll take you right over to Equilife. Jessica's up next. I no longer have my gallbladder, adenoids, tonsils, and appendix. 3 kids later, and I'm suffering. I'm struggling to detox and absorb my food or get enough healthy fats and fat-soluble vitamins in my diet. I take TUDCA, bile salts, digestive enzymes, and binders, and do coffee enemas. Do you have any resources for me that could support me while also following relatively close protocols as your own? Yeah, happy to help. So yeah, you've got you have the quadfecta. They took out your tonsils and adenoids, did the same for me. I got my adenoids taken out twice, believe it or not, which is crazy. They say that they haven't really seen that too often. If they either didn't get it fully the first time or they got inflamed, whatever tissue was there, and had to be taken out again when I was 21, which is crazy. But anyway, that's that. And gallbladder, unfortunately, not modern, because there's nothing modern about it, but allopathic medicine feels like you don't need the extra organs, right? Like the gallbladder and the appendix, of course. If it's inflamed, we just cut it out. So I get it. So here's the thing though. You can still be a very healthy human without your adenoids, tonsils, appendix, or gallbladder. You need to do a little bit more, but you can still be a very healthy human. And so we just need to be careful with the amount of fats necessarily that we take in without a gallbladder. The appendix, eating a clean diet, making sure that you don't have candida or bacterial overgrowth in your gut, because if not, that will you don't have your appendix there, which they believe is more like a lymph node, that it helps to clean and remove bacteria and other issues within the So basically how the appendix looks is that when you consume food and it starts to move through the small intestines, then make its way over the ileocecal valve. As small intestine is moving to the large intestine, you've got the appendix there that's able to catch maybe toxins or other items as well and almost detox those, almost like a lymph node. So there's different theories on it, but anyway, that's why it can get inflamed, like a tonsil, right? Okay, so here's the thing though. I don't see that you're having I don't see any of the issues except that you're having difficulty absorbing your food. And that could be a real gut-based issue. I would personally, if I were you, run the gut bundle. It's 3 different labs. It's food sensitivities. It's the Candida metabolic and vitamin test to look for yeast overgrowth and bacteria. And then the bacteria and parasite test to look at parasites and bacterial overgrowth. That's what I would do. See what's going on. If you can't run those labs, totally get it. You can run the CBO. You can do the CBO protocol with these citracidal drops, and then you'll be using the daily foundational protocol without the probiotic because the CBO protocol is running you through that. And you'll be doing most likely the immune protocol that I just shared with our friend Alberto. And that's your vitamin D3, your vitamin C, and your zinc as well. So that's where I would start. All right. Again, I don't have your labs in front of me. I can't give you a specific protocol, but yes, you'll still continue to take your digestive enzymes. I don't think that you should be doing an enema or binder the rest of your life. But for now, if that's helpful, for sure, I have no issue with that. The universal binder that we have contains both TUDCA, bentonite clay, and a lot of other great binders, fulvic acid, humic acid. That's the universal binder. You can take 2 upon waking or away from food and away from supplements. That would work as well. So there's so much that we could give you, but we don't have we don't have any of your labs in front of us. So hard to personalize a plan because everybody's just guessing until we test, right? Or we can begin to work a proven protocol that I just laid out for you. All right. All right, Zach's up next. Hello, Dr. Ball. I'm a 26-year-old male that works out and is quite healthy. I've been using testosterone, human HCG, DHEA for my HRT for the past 2 years and 9 months. My total T before starting treatment was 550, so I was never hypogonadal, and I very impulsively hopped on testosterone. I want to quit due to the side effects, hair loss, libido fluctuations, etc., and to see if I can produce my natural high levels again. In your experience, what are the odds that my body will be able to recover its natural production and that I can regrow my hair? By the way, I've been working with an IHP for a year now, and I'm much healthier. Thank you, sir, Zach. That's amazing, Zach. Happy to hear that you're working with an IHP and happy to hear that you want to get off of testosterone. Listen, I support men that are on testosterone. I have no issue with that. But at 26 years old, and in my opinion, at 36 years old, you should never be on testosterone. It's because there's an underlying issue, meaning like, okay, so think of it this way. Again, there's outliers. There's 0.1%, right? There's always 0.1%. So I get it. But women typically enter menopause about, most women have about 400 to 500 menstrual cycles. And so it depends when they start their menstrual cycle, right? 8 years old, 13 years old. Like there's obviously a 5-year difference. And I know 8 is very early. I agree with that, but there's hormones in food. There's all sorts of things. I'm not going to go down that path right now. But let's just say most women then go into menopause 45 to 55. Could be a little later, could be a little bit earlier, right? But if we think about the same time frame essentially for men, and men is actually a little bit longer, before 45 years old, if you're even thinking about using testosterone, you don't want to. And the reason is that it's covering up another issue. Elevated cortisol levels, nutrient deficiencies like zinc. And I could go down the line. I've got a whole podcast on how to boost your testosterone. All right. So I'm not going to do that because I'm now preaching to the converted with Zach. Zach wants to get off of it. Great. And that's why I wish this wasn't promoted to so many men, because men at 26, that's your prime. Like you don't want to be going on testosterone then. Here's the good news. You're 26 years old. Yes, you can rebound your levels. No doubt about it. Now, might you want to stay on the HCG as you're coming off and use the DHEA? Yes. Would you come off of testosterone? Yes, but you would most likely, you can just stop. You can, probably not going to feel that great. Probably want to wean down with your endocrinologist or your doctor, because anybody can basically prescribe testosterone now if you're a medical doctor, which is part of the issue, right? Because we've got doctors calling themselves functional medicine doctors and just prescribing testosterone to anyone 26-year-old. So you can see I'm obviously not a fan of that, right? Because I don't think that that's putting the person first, right? Okay, so now let's talk about hair. All right, so with your hair, can you regrow it? The answer is maybe. one of the reasons for male hair loss is called androgenic alopecia, or basically when your testosterone converts to dihydrotestosterone. It can cause those hair follicles to basically die, fall out, disintegrate. That's it. However, I can absolutely give you your best chance of regrowing your hair and keeping the hair that you do have on your head. If you go to stevencabral.com/hair-loss, you will literally see that I was in my early 40s when this happened. 60% of the hair on the top of my head fell out. And it was actually because of, though, inflammation, and I don't not take testosterone levels, right? I've never taken it. Testosterone is something that I fortunately have had strong levels of. Okay. So although I understand working with men with lower levels, and I probably did have low levels when I was going through all my health issues, but it just wasn't tested, right? But I get it. But I had a large conversion of testosterone to DHT. So that's why I'm bringing that up. I get it. Like, I had good normal levels. Like, I don't have off the chart levels, of course, because I'm not on TRT. But because of inflammation during COVID and because of higher testosterone to DHT conversion, I lost 60% of the hair on the top of my head. And you can see the top of my head now, like it's real hair. And it grew back. Did it grow back overnight? No. But it did grow back with all of the things that I share at stevencabral.com/hair-loss. Now, will some work for you and some not work for you? Yes, I'm always honest about that. The problem is we don't always know what's going to work, right? That's the issue. And so when I'm dealing with something like that and it happens acutely, I said, okay, I'm going to do everything. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do everything. The PRP, plasma rich, why am I not able to remember that now? Protein. Basically, you have your blood drawn, it's spun, you take out the plasma rich platelet therapy. There we go. Sometimes you just got to work it on your head. And the injections in my head, that was expensive. That was like $700 like per treatment. I think I got maybe like 3 of them done. That was expensive. I don't know if I'd do that again. Truthfully, I'd put my money towards all the other things, but not that. But Zach, that's what I can share, and that's everything right there. So yes, I totally get where you're coming from. And that gives you all of the latest and greatest science as to how to regrow your hair. And so hopefully that is helpful and will help anybody with thinning hair. All right, let's get to one more question. Brian's up next. Hi, Dr. Bral. I've gut issues and I have a rainbow of symptoms. That's a nice way of saying I've got a rainbow of symptoms. The most debilitating one is gut pain around the mid-lower right side of my large intestine. ? Meaning not sure if it's your large intestine. Okay. Often it's at its worst in the AM and causes me to wake up around 4 to 5. After being awake for 1.5 hours, I fall back to sleep. I was told it's my appendix and almost had it removed in 22 to 23. Doctors I've met with recently said if it were my appendix, it would hurt more. Been diagnosed with a hiatal hernia, LPR, IBS, slow gut motility, slow burden, diverticulosis, etc. To cut a long story short, not looking for a diagnosis, just was wondering if you've seen this in your practice, namely early morning gut discomfort on the right side, which often subsides as the morning progresses or is relieved via bowel movement. All the best. Yes, I have. Let's work the process. And also, if you're watching this in video, let's do a little diagram. So I've got my buddy Walter right here. Walter's been in my practice now since like 2009. So we've got a long relationship together. If we look at our model right here, the bottom right side where your appendix is literally right here. It's where your ileum meets your cecum. The ileum is the end of your small intestine, and the cecum is the beginning of your large intestine. The appendix sits right below it. And I think we were just talking about the appendix, right? Someone having that removed. And so what happens is with slow bowel motility or bacterial overgrowth or IBS, slow gut motility, it's literally all the same. They're just giving you different names, right? Diverticulosis is a little bit different, but that's essentially impaction of the diverticula. So hiatal hernia is a little bit different. Hiatal hernia is up near the esophagus. It's where the esophagus meets the stomach typically, or it's right outside and it pushes up and it opens up the lower esophageal sphincter, which can sometimes cause acid reflux. Okay, let's take a big step back. In an ideal world, someone with gut-based issues would run what is called the gut bundle, the big 3. Food sensitivities, Candida metabolic and vitamins test, and the bacteria and parasite stool test. It would look at bacteria, Candida overgrowth, parasites, and H. pylori. So it would look at all of it. If you're not able to run those, well, run the vitamin tox test if you can. That will look at vitamin levels, mineral levels, gut function, and it will look at heavy metals. So that's a great one to do. If you can't run any labs, understood, we'll typically go into then the citricidal drops for 3 weeks, plus the CBO protocol at the same time. All right. And then, of course, using the smoothie for breakfast, we need to ease in digestion. Some people are just eating foods that are just too inflammatory for their body. Now, that is, again, I can't give you a medical diagnosis, just like you said, or a treatment plan, but that is the kind of short story of what we would say in our practice. The other thing, though, is this could be gas. So you could have a lot of gas building up in your intestines overnight. And when you're lying on your side, as basically the gas might move from your small intestine to your large intestine, or start to ferment right in the beginning of the large intestine, that could actually expand this colon right here, the ascending colon, which is the cecum, and it could actually start to cause that pain. And so if when you have a bowel movement, you also have gas, it could be that trapped gas, but that's also fermentation, most likely from candida or bacterial overgrowth. So the plan doesn't change, just different reasons for it. Hopefully this was helpful. Really appreciate everybody writing in with their questions today. If we can be of help, you can run a lab. You get a personalized plan with that. And of course, all your questions answered. Those are all at StephenCabral.com/labs or StephenCabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to EqualLife. And if you don't want to work with my practice, totally fine. You can choose the Integrative Health Practitioner that might be the right fit for you at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. Or you want to become your own integrative health practitioner, your own health coach in your own home. We would love that. Head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org. Become the health coach in your own home, right? Learn to heal yourself and then go on to help others as well. It's amazing, amazing work. And of course, we'd love to have you in the community. All right, everybody, take care. Have an amazing rest of the weekend. I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.